Apparently gotten some good news on the Ben Simmons front. His pain-free progress is reportedly giving them some hope that he would be available sometime during the first round of the playoffs. Now, this all depends on if the Nets advance out of the play-in tournament. And he would take on a limited role, 10 to 15 minutes per game.
This is what we talked about last week.
So he's yet to play in a game this season.
Joy, this is Ben Simmons' value. Brooklyn doesn't need points. They need length, defense, and distribution. This is my argument, that if he plays, let's say we go, so they say 10 to 15. Let's say he goes 7 minutes a half, and they played Miami, and you just put him on Jimmy Butler. Or they played Boston, and you put him on Jason Tatum. He has massive value. And by the way, because all the shooting stuff is in his head, you can tell him, defend and distribute. You don't need to take a single shot. I think Brooklyn ends up in the Eastern Conference Finals. I really do. If that's the role for him, his defense, I think they're going to play Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals.
I don't know. I think the tales of how far Brooklyn is going to go are greatly exaggerated. And it has nothing to do with Kevin Durant, obviously, because I think he's had, when healthy, which is most of the season, an unbelievable season. And I think he's carried them and kept them relevant since the moment that he's got there, since he's arrived in Brooklyn. But I just have no faith in the Ben Simmons situations. There's no indication whatsoever that any of this is true. We've heard that he was going to play, and then it was just like he was just gearing up. Then he hurts his back. And he's not a plug-and-play player. Like, even if he is available for this 10 to 15 minutes, is he going to fit? Is he going to be mentally ready? I have no faith in this at all.
This is, the playoffs are better when they're a little bit of a circus. You got to give us one, circus show.
Oh, yeah. The Nets are completely filling that role. Now, he hasn't played in a game this season. So if they'll face the Cavs in the first round of the play-in tournament tomorrow night. If they win, they'll go on to face the Celtics in round one.
I think if I was Boston,
I'd
be
series, but I don't know. I don't know that anyone's afraid of the Nets. I got to be honest with you. I think they're afraid of Kevin Durant.
If Ben Simmons plays, I'll say this: 15 minutes a game against the Celtics, they will beat Boston. I think Boston's terrified of them. I cannot wait for that series.
Vegas agrees with you. The Nets have the third best odds to win the finals at plus 650 behind the Suns and Bucks.
I think Ben Simmons is.
I don't remember the last time I saw Ben Simmons play basketball. So I have no idea how this is going to fit or work. I've said from the beginning I think this trade is for next year.
Yeah.
And obviously I didn't anticipate him being out this long with the back injury. But these are not outside of the play-in tournament, obviously. It's not one game win or go home. These are 7-game series.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm interested in it, though, because
so
everyone believes in the Nets. I just don't think that they're deep enough. So some news came down regarding the 22 civil lawsuits pending against the Browns' Deshaun Watson.
I don't know if this was good news or not.
I think this is not good news at all for anyone. So according to the Cleveland Plain Dealer, the lawyers handling the cases have agreed that no trials will be scheduled between August 1st, 2022 and March 1st of 2023.
So that means it's going to hang over the season?
It could go beyond that because the lawyer who represents the 22 women told the Plain Dealer he's trying to get a trial set for July, but if that's not feasible, then all 22 cases will be ready to go in March of 2023. So that means that will hang over all of this season. And then you have to consider that this is, again, not a class action suit. So unless someone gets everyone in a room and convinces all of these women who are filing these lawsuits and their lawyer to file as one class action suit, he is going to have to go to trial with each individual 22 times, each.
About two different things. One, Jordan Love, the kid they drafted in the first round a couple of years ago. We've seen play a couple of times. Not very promising. His quote was, "We haven't seen enough of him. Preseason will be very important." They've seen enough of him. They know at this point he's not ready to play. If he was, they would have moved off Aaron Rodgers. We all know that, right? Alex Smith, much better than people have ever given him credit for. They moved off in Kansas City because they knew Patrick Mahomes was great. If the quarterback is great, that's why Jimmy Garoppolo is still around for the Niners, because they have some misgivings about Trey Lance. It doesn't look good. He has struggled. if you draft a quarterback in the first round and move up to draft him, you want to play him as soon as you can because you're not paying him anything, and it allows you to do with, what the Rams did with Jared Goff or the Seahawks did with the young Russell Wilson. You can load your roster up for 2 or 3 years. Joe Burrow in Cincinnati right now. You're not paying him anything. Josh Allen's first couple years in Buffalo. You can go add pieces. It's kind of the secret sauce when you have a young quarterback. Surround Baker Mayfield in Cleveland. Didn't pay him anything. $18 million, not much of a cap hit. You can load him up. Go get Jadeveon Clowney's. Go get Kareem Hunt as a backup quarterback. Go get OBJ. Go get Jarvis Landry. We all know the game, right? So if he could play, they would have moved off Aaron Rodgers and not been publicly humiliated by him and given him $50 million a year. But the other quote that Mark Murphy had, which is a real thing. So we theorized a couple weeks ago. I said, Green Bay's got the weakest wide receiving core in the NFL right now. There is no second place. Maybe Houston, maybe the Patriots. It's bad. Increasingly, outside of quarterback, wide receivers matter more than any other position because of the rule changes and the cultural changes in football. The star athletes in high school now, they want to be quarterbacks, they want to be wide receivers. And you got to be good at both. Cincinnati had a lot of flaws. Great young quarterback, great wide receivers. You start looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a couple years ago when they won. Great quarterback, great wide receivers. They didn't have a great secondary. They didn't have a great left side of the offensive line necessarily. You got to be great at those places. Green Bay is awful right now at wide receiver and yet is not going after any of the free agent wide receivers, even the cheap ones, even Devontae Parker. They're not even in the running. Why? Because Mark Murphy said over the weekend, and this is something I believe, and now it's been verified. He said, we don't look at Aaron Rodgers as having a 3-year contract. It's a series of 1-year contracts. My theory's right. So, number one, Green Bay knows Aaron doesn't like criticism at all. Number two, Green Bay was humiliated and ticked off at constantly being publicly berated and manipulated by Aaron Rodgers the last year. They didn't like that at all. No front office does. And number three is they're not pursuing wide receiver talent in free agency. Why? Because there's no owner for the Packers. So the guys in the front office, Mark Murphy is safe. He's not going to get fired. Matt LaFleur's not going to get fired if the season goes sideways. What they don't want to be is in the Aaron Rodgers business for 3 more years. They're over it. And so what they do is they sign him so they can be competent. They don't go after veteran receivers. They're going to get them only in the draft. Why? Because Aaron doesn't deal well. He has trust issues. He doesn't deal well with young receivers. And the criticism of Green Bay has been for years, they draft receivers, but never in the first round. And they have 2 first-round picks. They may go after 2 receivers, and they'll be able to say, we drafted wide receivers in the first round. So watch Green Bay. They've got 2 firsts and 2 seconds. They'll take at least 2 receivers, and they'll cover their arse. Hey, we went out and got him. The year before, we got Amari Rodgers. We got young receivers. A.J. Dillon was a second-round run. We got him a lot of skill, people. This was not on us. So why are they not going after veterans? Because eventually they don't want to be for 3 more years in this nonstop fire hose of drama with Aaron Rodgers. They see it as a 1-year contract. They'll try to get out of it. If they can't, it'll be a 2-year contract. They will not have a relationship in 3 years. And the difference between this and Russell Wilson was Russell Wilson wanted out of Seattle 3 years ago, but they made some changes for him, and he kept it out of the papers. And Russell Wilson wanted out of Seattle 2 years ago, but he mostly kept it out of the papers, although a list of teams he would go to. And then Russell Wilson really wanted out about 8 months ago, and then he moved out. But he didn't try to publicly humiliate the franchise. He would have been gone a lot sooner had he done that. With Aaron, they're trapped. They are trapped because Jordan Love, although they drafted him and moved up, can't play. They are trapped. And teams don't like to be trapped. But what they don't like even more than being trapped is humiliated publicly. Owners don't like it. Coaches don't like it. GMs don't like it. So Mark Murphy acknowledging it's not a 3-year deal. It's 3 1-year deals. It's exactly my belief why they're not going after free agents. Listen, when you've been as good as Green Bay has been for, 20 straight years? It's like Michael Jordan and the Bulls. When you win all those championships, you can be crap for a couple of years, right? People aren't going to cancel their season tickets. So Green Bay has been so good for so long that if they go with Aaron this year and it's disappointing and then they move off him for a year, it can be bad for 2 years till you find your quarterback. You're not going to lose any fans in Green Bay. They have given these fans a 20, 25-year magic carpet ride. But that's a very interesting quote. It's not a 3-year deal. Says the president of the Packers. It's a series of 1-year deals. And by the way, Aaron said I'm 50-50 on retirement. What the Packers are telling you, yeah, we're 50-50 on you. That's what that quote means. Joy with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.